everybody, it's Claire back with another art journal video, but this one is for Dina's brand new release. So I'm using the brand new Pocket Circle stamp set, and when you get yours, if you order it, you will see that it comes with this rubber around the circles. So what I've done is I've kept that because I thought that would make a great printing tool. So I'm going to use the gel plate, and I'm using some of Dina's brand new colours. And there I was just checking if my brayer was going to be wide enough to brayer the colours the same width as the rubber. Not quite, it was a little bit smaller, but that was okay. So I'm using malachite, raspberry and mustard, and I'm going to brayer those colours onto my gel plate. So there's a nice, not too thin, not too thick, just a nice layer of paint on there. And then once I'm just brayering off the colour that's on my brayer already before I go in, because I don't want to make any kind of muddy colours. I want these to blend really nicely. I think these new paints from Dina that came out last time are one of my favourites. I am just reaching for them all the time. So here I'm using the floor tile, or is it tile floor? I can't remember. The new stencil. Just having a little look. Tile floor, putting it on and then brayering through it, so that transfers some of the pattern, and then I'm just having a play and popping this down just to see what will happen here. So it's a little bit raised up from the gel plate, so I decided just to get a better imprint I would just brayer over the top of it as well. So my brayer didn't actually touch the paint, it just kind of went on and pressed it into the gel plate, just so that it would make a better imprint, and then lifting it off, and you can see it's left a bit of pattern there. So I decided I would use collage tissue paper to gel print onto, so that I could have a nice translucent background for my journal page. This is a really cool tool that one of my art journal lovers very kindly sent to me. Becky, thank you. I use it so much, and it's great for this as well. And here I'm just lifting the print off. Now my gel plate was a little bit grungy, so I've picked up some other colours as well. But you can see I've got some of the pattern there in the background. And that's enough. That's a great start for my journal page. So I've cut it down to size, and I'm going to stick it in using some gel medium, some matte medium, sorry. Just because that will make it kind of melt into the page and get a nice sort of even coverage. As ever, I've put too much out. I always do. And just like getting that right amount is almost impossible. I always end up going a bit crazy, putting too much matte medium on my page. And that doesn't necessarily matter, because I do like to brush it over the top of my pages when I'm sticking things like this down, just so that it then seals it and you can work on top of it without moving anything around, or yeah, it just makes it easier to work on. So then popping it in place, I don't particularly worry about whether I've got creases in it or not. I know some people like things to be super smooth. It doesn't bother me at all. So I am just sticking that in, and with the excess matte medium that's on my brush, I'm just applying that over the top just to help that stick in place really nicely. So I think, you know, some of the pattern is there. It's not really obvious, but it makes a great start for this background. And I think just thinking outside the box, when you get supplies like this new stamp set and you see the bit that's left behind, you know, think it's more to hang on to, I realise. And us crafters are terrible for this, aren't we? Like, oh, it might be useful. Yes, it really might. So then I'm using the tile floor stencil again. I'm going back in with the same colours and just adding a little bit more stenciling over the top of the colour that it matches. So mustard on mustard, raspberry on raspberry, malachite on malachite. And that just adds a little bit more pattern to my background without it being too crazy. Using a blending tool to apply the paint as well. I love how these three colours blend with each other. They're just, oh, some of my favourites. Okay, so then that gets a good dry. And then I start to add some pieces of collage paper. So this is from the text collage paper pack. It's just having some malfunctions here. This is definitely user error. Again, using matte medium to stick this in place, clearly having a bad day. And I'm just wanting to add a little bit of contrast onto my page as well. I didn't go in with any other patterned collage before I put the gel printed piece down. But this is kind of a nice way to just add a little bit of interest. So again, that gets a good dry, and then moving on to the next part. So next I am using Branches Redux. I'm using one of the masks from that set. I absolutely love these masks. Masking is one of my all-time favourite techniques to use. I love the surprise you get when you lift your mask up and you've masked around it. And yes, you end up losing some of your background, but it's background, that's okay. It's not necessarily meant to be in the foreground. But by doing this masking technique, you're drawing your attention into a smaller area. And yeah, here I decided I was going to try something a little bit different. So I left the mask in place, gave it a very careful dry, didn't want to overheat it, just to get it dry enough. And then I'm going to grab a stamp with a little bit of text on it. I think it's actually got numbers on it. It's an old one that I've had for a very long time. I think it might be Stampers Anonymous. And I am stamping over the top of my mask, around onto that white area that I've added. Now this has the effect of just helping soften those white edges a little bit, and also I'm just introducing a little bit of interest to the area that I've just made very, very white. Then I decided I would add some black splatters as well while the mask was still there, and then that way I could be sure that I wouldn't have any black splatters inside the area that I've masked off, but only on the white. Again, this is just helping to push that very bold white section, just push it away a little bit, and I'm just adding a bit more interest. And also what I really loved when I lifted the mask off is how pretty that looked. It just was so cool. It almost makes me want to stick it in my book. But anyway, I'm not going to because it's a mask and I wouldn't be able to use it again. So yeah, a way you could do that would be to draw around the mask, cut it out, and use your cutout as your mask, and then keep the bit that you've got left over to use on another page. That would also work. So giving it a good dry, lifting it off, and you can see how those elements that I've added onto the white have just calmed that white down a little bit. So if you didn't want to use white, you could just as easily use another pastel shade. That would be a little bit softer, maybe not quite as harsh as the white, but that's a really fun technique to try. Give it a go. So then I'm just using a black gel pen, and I'm just going to add some sketchy lines around my masked leaf shape. I love how bold that looks, and I'm adding some little scribbles. Then I decided I just wanted to brighten those areas of raspberry and mustard. So I'm just using my finger and applying a little bit of paint onto the leaves. Yeah, but I just love it so much. That shape, it's so big and bold, fantastic. And it's quite striking, isn't it? So here we go, just popping a little bit more colour onto these leaves. You could also use neons if you've got those in your stash. That would brighten a little bit. But I just wanted to bring a bit more colour. You can still see some elements of the collage paper through the masked leaf stem shape as well. But yeah, it worked really nicely. So the next thing I was thinking was, where do I go from here? And I wondered about adding more leaves on there, but I didn't want to make it be overwhelmed. So then I grabbed the Alpha block stencil, stamp set, and I'm just going to stamp the word growth, just keeping it simple. Yeah, just one word, and then I will find a quote from the ledger papers, the type ledger papers that will work with my word. So I'm popping those letters onto an acrylic block. Obviously you need to pop them on so the word goes backwards. It takes a while to get your head round. and then I'm going to stamp it onto some collage tissue paper and cut it out. Okay, so then I'm just sticking it in place again using some matte medium. I'm trying not to go too close to those lines that I've drawn around my masked branch because that wasn't a waterproof pen that I used. But I'm loving the simplicity of this page, and I think the layers that are there were lots of fun to create. And as often the case with mixed media art journaling, you often don't see all the layers that are underneath your page, but part of the joy of it is in just creating that really layered look to your page. So I've grabbed a quote from Dina's type ledger papers that works really well with my my single word, and I'm going to stick that in just using a little bit of PVA glue, and that, I think, was my page finished. I've also, I think I might have, oh yeah, I added some white Posca pen dots. Like I say, this is a bit of a fad at the minute. You'll see me doing this a lot. I do get, and you will have noticed this, I get a bit fixated on doing certain things, and I'm like, oh, I really like that, I'm just going to do it. So here we go, using lots of Dina's new release. It's again another fabulous release. You guys are going to love it when you get your hands on it. So watch out for more videos with more of Dina's products. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you find some inspiration from this. Like, just sometimes keeping it simple is perfect, and it's just what you need. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.